Morning everybody, this is Unit 3 Lesson 4 and we're going to first of all have a look at parameters. I recently discovered that many of you are struggling with it. So first of all, please remember that there's some videos that you can go have a look at. It's still accessible to you on Vutela regarding parameters. We need to normally know that when we want to send data to a method, either a function or procedure, we will need to use value parameters. When a method must return 2 or more values, we will use reference parameters, and that method will then be a procedure. Okay, when 2 or more values are returned, always procedures, always reference parameter. And I'm going to use a function when only one value must be returned. We don't use the parameters then, the value would be returned by the function itself. But this again would be explained in detail. One or two additional things that I picked up that you don't understand too well. When I call a procedure or a function, the parameters that we send to the procedure or the function is extremely important. And we need to pay attention to the following. First of all, the purpose of the parameters. Normally from the name of the parameter we can gather that, but in the documentation we can also really see what is the purpose of a parameter. We need to pay attention to the data type, integer or double, the number of parameters that a function or procedure needs, and then, quite importantly, the sequence of the parameters, if there's more than one parameter. I'm going to have a look at that in a moment. Take note that the parameters tells us something about the data that's sent to the parameter. And we've got two different names that we really need to work with, that I'm going to use in the following sections. So I've got actual parameters. These would be the parameters where I'm calling the procedure or the function. So it's the data names that's specified where I'm calling the procedure or the function. And then we've got formal parameters. These are the parameters listed in the function or the procedure header. So whenever I mention actual parameter or formal parameter, you just need to know what I am talking about. All that said, parameter names, the actual names of the parameters, that's totally ignored by all programming languages. Okay? So the specific name that I use has got no relevance. What happens is that the first actual parameter is merely passed to the first formal parameter, and the second actual parameter passed to the second formal parameter, etc. Again, when I do some exercise now, I'll show you. So when I go and assign data, so when I pass a actual parameter to a formal parameter, we follow the same rules as what would be used when we assign data. So here are just 3 questions that I pose to you. Can you save an integer variable in a double? Can you save a double value in an integer variable? Can you save a string in an integer? Let's have a look at examples. So let's say we've got num and we've got value. So if I take value, for example, first, it's a double variable. What does that mean? I can assign any double value to it. I can also quite easily, readily, assign a integer variable to it. The integer 23 would be converted to a double, so it would become 23.0 before it's saved in value. So this is perfect. That is perfect. But if I've got now something like Sue assigned to value, I've got a compile time error. Let's say compilation error. Why? Sue is not a number. It can't be assigned to a variable. Can I assign 1 to 3? Not straight, no. I'm again going to get a compile time error. So what if the user now types 1 to 3 in a text box? Then we really have something like txt number.txt. That's assigned, eh? Now txt number.txt is a string. It's more or less exactly the same as this assignment over here. So me, the programmer, I've got an option. That line is going to still give me a compile time error, but I've got an option to say convert the data that you get in the text box to an integer. This is what this function will do. Convert to int is a function call, and it's going to take the number, assign it after it's converted to an error. So this again is perfect code if the user typed in a good value, a good number. So I can, in the same sense, do something like this to convert a number to an integer and save it then in value. Or then I can convert a number to a to a double. This is a double that I'm working with. So both of those would be perfect and perfect. Now, if I can have a look at number. Number is an integer. Can I assign an integer value to it? Yes. That would be perfect. Can I assign something like that? No, it's going to give me again a compilation error. Can I assign a string to it? No, definitely not. Compilation error. And can I assign something like that? Compilation error. So if I wanted to assign something like 1 to 3 a text box, then in this case I will need to call convert to integer. And now this will be perfect. Okay, so first of all, just remember the rules that we've got with regarding to assignment. If I have a look at a second example where we're now going to use some of the string functions, then let's say I've got a name, Sue, and a full name, Nkumutlong. If I go to any of the string functions, so index of, for example, the index of header is displayed to me. It says there's more than one method, but I selected the one that takes 3 parameters. It says I want a first parameter, that's a character, a second parameter, that's an integer, and a third parameter, that's an integer. If we want to use this specific method that finds the first occurrence of a specified character for the string, and they say here the string searches at the specified character position and examines the specified number of character positions. So in this instance they tell me I want 3 parameters. I can have a look at the description of each one of them. So now if I want to call index of, let's say I want to find the first O in the surname. Just something to look for. I will first of all need to know where the surname would be in order to, so that would be my problem. Find the first O in the surname. And I want to know what position it would be. I will most probably need a variable. Let's call it position. It's an integer. Let's actually have two. I've got the position for a space and I've got the position for the O. And let's just call everyone position for space and position for O character. So if I need the position of the space, I will need to go have a look, and I can maybe use the count the number of characters for this case, but it's not really going to help me that much. I will most probably need to go have a look at the index of method that take only the value that I'm looking for. So this method takes one parameter, the value that I'm looking for. And now if I go take full name, which is exactly the same as our object, and I go call the method, the name of the method index of, and I say I want the position of the space, then that's given to me. And if I go read the documentation very carefully, they tell me what does this method return? The zero-based index position, so it starts at 0, R value, and it's going to give me -1 if it's not found, if the user didn't type in a full name. So now I can check if the position of the space is bigger than or equal to 0, then I know it's found. Okay, I'm working now with a little bit of VB code because I'm working with precise parameters. VB needs a then. So if I found the data, now I want the position of the O character in full name. Index of is not going to help me if I just look for O, because the O character could also form part of the name. So index of on its own is not going to help me. If I go to the index of method that takes a start index as a second parameter and the value that I'm looking for, then it would be a lot better. So I'm actually not going to use the method that takes 3 parameters right now. So if I now say take the position of the space as the start and then find me an O, I would get the position of the O character. Okay, just looking for an O, then index of would give me the O in Nku. It's not going to help. 0, 1, 2, that position is not going to help. But if I say take the position of the space as a starting value, so I take as the starting index. Oh, and have a look now. The parameter sequence is important. So first of all, this index of method wants the value that you're looking for. Second of all, it wants the starting index. So that means those two things of mine would be wrong. I first of all need to specify what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for the O, where from position of space onwards. And now we can easily go and write message box.show something like O found in the surname as the as a certain position. Or then I can have another message box that says O is not found in the surname. Okay, something like that. Okay, so here the parameters helped me, and I had to have the sequence right, and I got the names of the parameters. If I look at another example, let's say I've got a function called calc triple, and it takes one parameter, a double. And let's say my button event procedure that uses the function to calculate result, I've got quite a few different variables now specified. There's a constant, a double, an integer, a string, a decimal, a boolean, and my result again is a double because this function returns a double. So result must be a double. Can I call calc triple first of all with just a double variable? Yes, that is fine. That's perfectly fine. The function takes one double. Can I send a constant to it? That would again be perfectly fine. Max is an integer, but I can store an integer in a double. I can store value in it. That's perfectly fine. But if I call the function with name, it's not accessible. It's wrong. I can't save a string in a double. I won't be able to call the function with answer because that's got a problem. With price, then that's also perfectly acceptable. A decimal can be stored in a double. A double must be converted to be stored in a decimal. Okay, so we first of all just go and check the rules, what may and may I not save. If I now go to something a little bit further, let's say I've got a shape class and it's got a function calculate the volume of a cube, and it specifies I've got to give 3 parameters when calculate volume of the cube is stored. I need the length, then the width, then the height, and this function will give me back a double. Take note, the method specifies first the length, second of all the width, third of all the height. So if my question asked me calculate the volume of a cube that's 15 centimeters long by 20 centimeters high by 40 centimeters wide, store the answer in vol, then my call will look like this. I presume I've created an object already, and I'm just calling the method. It's the method call that I'm interested in. What must the sequence of these parameters be? It's first the length, then the width, then the height. So 15, 40, 20. Why? Because that's specified by the function. The function says first the length, then the width, then the height. So then here the actual parameters in the call statement, they need to be in that specific sequence. 15, 40, 20. First the length, then the width, then the height. If I have a look at another example, if I'm asked to give the volume of the cube that is 55 centimeters high by 20 centimeters in length by 40 centimeters in width, then my sequence in the actual parameters must still be first the length, then the width, then the height. So 20, 40, 55. So remember, the data that are sent to the method, the actual parameter values, they need to match the parameters, the formal parameters of the method. So, one last example. Let's say I've got a constructor. We can see that from the word public sub new. And this constructor takes three things. First of all, the staff number, then the surname, then the salary. And I'm asked to create an employee object with a surname of Motlong, staff number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, salary just 7,500. Then when I create the object, I've got to first of all include the staff number, and it's a string, so it must be enclosed in double quotation marks. Then the surname, again it's a string, double quotation marks. Thereafter the salary, and whether it's a double or a decimal doesn't matter too much at this stage. Okay, so the sequence of those parameters, the actual parameters, that sequence is dependent on the formal parameters that were listed when the method was coded. Okay, I hope I've cleared up some of your questions regarding parameters. I saw that a few of you struggled with this. Thank you.